How do we listen when words are left unsaid?
Let's talk about love and marriage, the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
Hey, y'all. So you heard Kafi's point of view of what happens when actions speak louder than words. But on my perspective, how do we listen when words are left unsaid? And we're coming from that perspective because, and we're doing this call and response vibe because sometimes the message gets kind of thrown off if we're on the same episode. And so what happens is when I'm sitting there and I am listening to what Kafi has to say non-verbally, there are times, or there has been times, where the message is truly, truly unclear for me because I can't read every little gesture, or because of the body language of maybe how still or how proper she's sitting, if she's sitting all the way up or whatever it might be. Unfortunately, I can't tell 100% if she's mad, if she's pondering something else, if she is digesting what's being said. There are times where I just am not aware, or I have not been aware of what is really being said. And so if I say, hey, Kafi, use your words. And then she's like, well, I don't know what to say. Or, she looks kind of stumped. Okay, well, just because you say, hey, you know what, I want a hug. Yeah, you can come up and get a hug, but, do you want a 5-second hug? Do you want a 3-minute hug? Or even when she just comes up and wants to cuddle, well, maybe I don't want to cuddle at that time because I got bubble guts, baby. So again, sometimes using those words will help me understand what is needed, or in the past, what is needed. Most recently, though, I have been working a lot more on that because there are things and moments and situations that I've had to come to a realization that she deals with on an everyday basis that I have not always been attentive to. And again, because she stated that I am the one that speaks more often, I'll say to her, well, really, how was your day today? And then in that, get a little deeper into that. Well, what about, I'll follow up with a question, maybe something that she might have said the day before or 2 days prior, or maybe even a week. Sometimes I have this elephant memory type thing going on, and I just remember some really crazy stuff sometimes. So I'll remember that she'll have, right now, just dealing with some of the governmental challenges that we're having in the world, overall in the United States, and how it's affecting her day-to-day operations and what people's concerns are. So I just want to make sure that she is okay. And even as she's speaking it, I'm paying attention to how she's standing, how she's sitting, or whatever it is. And so, and because of that, or in those moments, I've been able to increase the idea of intimacy, because now I get to hold her hand, or she gets to be, feel like she's being heard, or, she gets to relax and unwind a little bit better because of that. So unfortunately, in the past, I was looking for aggression. I was looking for negative thoughts and feelings because that was the environment that unfortunately, I had grown up in. I was in a very, very crazy environment. Everything was so rah-rah, where and even in our beginning of our marriage, things were, because I had that energy, I was used to that type of energy, things were still relatively rah-rah. But as we have gotten older, slowing things down a little bit more, being a little bit more attentive to not just our partner's needs, but our individual needs, I definitely has been able to say, all right, Maurice, what is that Kafi really needs at this moment? What does she really desire at this moment? And now I get to touch that a little bit differently. Even when you heard us talk about even my hobbies or whatever it is, Transformers or whatever it is, my little, as she calls them, mascots. It used to have an effect on me. Again, you heard using those type of words, but I also understand that there are some other situations that tends to come up in those situations, those ideas. All right, Maurice, are you managing the money correctly? Or what are what's your long-term goal or dream or whatever for that? And then there are some other things that are behind that fuels that as well, which is some of her own childhood challenges or whatever it is. So we're both dealing with childhood trauma or whatever. Do we recognize it? Not all the time. Do we use our words that we recognize it? Not all the time. And then we don't understand, all right, well, or the questions are not asked, well, Maurice, for you to do that or to be in that place, what are you really dealing with? And so sometimes it's just, hey, can we have those type of conversations? And so, Kafa, again, if you're looking at my actions, are you able to read them correctly? Are you able to interpret it, a little differently? And so I think those are the type of things that as we are going through marriage and these relationships, are we able to overall interpret and the messages correctly? And so I only can speak for myself that I have been truly, truly working upon it, and thinking of what is the long-term outcome, short-term and long-term outcome of any and everything that I might be doing or putting together or whatever it is. And so, so now it's like, all right, if I'm going to spend this money, what is it that benefits the house or us, and not so much, because again, my mascots are my mascots, but also not understanding like my mascots help me with my creative juices as well. It gets my imagination flowing. So when we talk about what we're doing on the podcast, where we're going or whatever it is, that's what helps fuel it, because otherwise sometimes I'm just in a funk and I just don't know how to get out of it. And so again, did I express that to her? I might have, maybe not in the correct way or a way that she understands, but it's part of my fuel though, to help me stay in this position. So even as you're listening to, these shows, if you're looking at when we start having videos and things out, I have to have a way of keeping myself energized. But then that's, again, those are those things that are, or words that are left unsaid. Like, so Kafa, maybe I need to sit down and play with my toys and build my fort or whatever, whatever it might be. So I can now be in a place of imagination and wonder and dreams and all that type of stuff to say, all right, let's get to another level. So I think just like for herself, things that she would like, she wanted a dollhouse. It wasn't a dollhouse. It was one of the houses that you really put together. But because of the feeling of lack of space and energy or whatever it is, we don't have it out. She didn't touch it. Do we have the space now? We do. So now even speaking out loud, words left unsaid, Kafa, I apologize that, not really revisiting that moment for you to say, all right, come on, Kaf, we got the space. You can do it now if you really wanted to. And so these are things that happens on both sides of the fence of, all right, Kafa, when you have your quiet time, what is it that you need, when you really need your quiet time, when you need your moment of imagination, when you need your moment of rebuilding, regrowth, or, feeling filled up or whatever it is. So I think a lot of times we don't see those subtle messages, when people feeling burnt out, when they're feeling depressed or whatever it is. And just like Maurice, you want it for yourself. These are things I've seen to myself. Maurice, just like you want it for yourself recently, what does Kafi need? And so does she need a new computer? She might not think she does, but how does she make sure that she's productive, that she has the newest technology, because stuff is changing, every day, and so understanding that all these things help out along the way. So whether it's verbal or non, we just want to make sure that we're staying in touch, that we're being observant of small things like workflows or whatever it is, and that helps to build the intimacy overall. And so when we sit down and hold hands and touch hands, it's not a hesitancy. It's not a, what's the alternative motive or whatever it might have been in the past. It's really more genuine and just, hey, I'm here in a moment. So, I do have a question though, y'all, for all of you that's out there, along with Kafi, if actions really speak louder than words, how do we make sure our actions align with what our partner really needs? So if I am getting the computer, if I'm getting the dollhouse, or, I'm the Transformers, or whatever it is, are our actions, are they really aligning with what our partner really needs?
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow.